And before Teddy started producing, I think our producer was probably over 30. Teddy opened the door for Jermaine Dupri. He actually opened the door for Dallas Austin. You know, like a lot of young cats that the label started going to look for as producers. Because before Teddy, you was looking for Gambling Huff.
Yeah.
You look for L.A. Babyface, Jamie Lewis. You looking for the older cat with more experience. And, you know, Quincy Jones. But Teddy opened the door for a lot of the cats now these days, and you know.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I think that's something that because he's been around for so long, we kind of forget.
You forgot he was a teenager when he first came on the scene.
Yeah, doing the Kumo D stuff.
And that's where the name New Jack came from. They're like, who is that doing that sound? And like it was a New Jack. Teddy was new on the block. That's what they call a New Jack. So it was that New Jack swing. It was his swing.
Yeah.
So he was the new kid on the block, and he, you know, that's a New Jack. He knew at the game, but that New Jack was hot.
North, and at that time, you know, New Jack swing, bro. That's when Teddy was like way on top. Everything he put out was hit. You know, so we was in that whole realm, man, and we moved up there. We stayed in the hotel for about a year and a half. Our transportation was a limousine to practice and wherever we need to go.
Wow.
That's how they were doing it during that time, bro. I mean, we live in a high life, but we were the bag up band.
You know, we always paid homage to Teddy. Teddy's one of the greatest producers, and I would be lying if I said that he didn't influence our up tempos in the way we, you know, looked at up tempos and New Jack Swing, because he was a king of New Jack Swing.
Yeah.
And that was a whole sound right there. And he changed sound to New Jack Swing. When we came out, I just changed again.
Never forget, he put me in a room upstairs, this little room, and he came in the room, and this is the first time Teddy ever did this with me. I think this was the test for him to know if I had it or if I really had it or not. He came in my room, he goes, yo, so I want you to work with Men of Vision. And I said, oh yeah, dope. And he goes, so check it, here's the progression. And he started playing like a progression on the keys. And I was looking at it, and I said, hold on, do it one more time. And he did it, and I caught it the second time what he was doing. And he left me. And then I went to sounds that I know Teddy used because I've been around him so much. So I loaded up those sounds and I started doing it, and I worked on the track. And he came back in later on, and I pressed play, and Men of Vision and Chauncey and Blackstreet, all of them were there. And he was like, yo, you nailed it. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait for you to put your hands on it. He said, I'm not touching that. He said, the only thing I'm doing is mixing it. I was like, nah, you gotta, he's like, nah, it's fine the way it is. Wow. And that's why I would tell people, if you listen to, when you get a chance, you probably don't even know this, but if you go, there's a song called Instant Love.
Yeah, no, Instant Love.
That's all me. And that's why I tell people I was New Jack swinging. Like if you listen, that's everything on there was me.
Oh, I thought it was Spanky. Right? Okay.
No, that's all. Spanky wrote it, but the track is all me. And I wanted it so bad to be me and Teddy because he gave me the chords to play.
Oh.
So I thought that I was going to lay down the foundation, get it going, and then he's going to come in and he's going to, you know, do his Teddy thing to it. And he didn't. He loved it so much. He was just like, yo, little bro, it's dope the way it is. And so that's what I'll tell people. Like, if you really look at like, after that is when I kind of transitioned out of that style. But I was New Jack swinging it. That was, you know, that was Teddy giving me those chords. All of that was Teddy telling me exactly what he heard in his head.
You go to New York and you see Teddy, the super producer, because he even at that stage he had done Make It Last Forever. He was doing all the hip hop stuff and the guy stuff, playing and he's a keyboard player. So what was it like for you as a keyboard player, watching him?
Oh,
in those early days.
You know, the funny thing is that before we even got the opportunity. I was working at this convenience store, and I was listening to Keith Sweat, and I was like, man, I love this vibe.
Yeah, one of my favorite albums.
I would love to, I was like, I would love to work for the producer that made this stuff, which is, I didn't know it was, who Teddy Riley was, 'cause I didn't actually have the record. I just used to listen to it on the radio.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, man, I would love to work with that producer. So once we got the opportunity, and it's like, it was super inspirational. I used to go leave rehearsal from today, and I would go to the studio and sleep under the console, and watching Teddy and watching Dave Way and Bernard Bell.
But those guys were with him back in those early days.
Yeah, man, those guys like Bernard really showed me a lot about the drum machine. Both he and Mucho showed me a lot about working the MPC, and just watching Ted create with the engineer and Bernard, the way they created was really cool.
Teddy can play some unreleased songs that you never heard of, and you'll be like, oh, he had a whole album on Zan. Zan, the guy that wrote Special Kind of Food for us, Zan had a hot album. Like right after Guy, he had Zan. He had a female group called Deja. And not Deja, it was it Deja? Abstract. He had Abstract. Teddy did a original song on the group called Deja too. Remember that? Okay, yeah. You look that up. He could have played abstract songs. You would have went crazy. He could have played the Redhead Kingpin stuff. Zan had unreleased stuff. He could have played that, and people like, I never heard this song, but it's hidden.
Very good friends with Sprague and Mucho. And Mucho was talking about when Rodney.
Those are the Avengers, by the way.
Yeah,
those guys are the Avengers. Sprague and Mucho, those Avengers, man.
You mentioned that you were also in the studio though, so they're having their live performances. But then after, when they're making the tracks and remixes, what were you doing?
Man, like I said, when they was doing that, I was just soaking it up. I was learning. I would listen to stuff, and then I would go to the house, and I had the MPC, and I would try to make stuff like it.
Okay, because Mucho mentioned that Gene gave him a copy. Is it this? This was after they? Was it before they split, or did he also have an MPC in the house?
After they split, Mucho became. Gene kind of put Basic Black together, his rendition of Basic Black together right before they split. So GR Productions split. So that's when we got introduced to Daryl. Aaron was acting up, and Gene was like, hey, they want to be acted up. I'll make me another group. And that's basically how Basic Black, that everybody knows, kind of got, created.
But how was it like? I mean, because I know Teddy was big by that time with guys already come out, and he was doing Keith Sweat and stuff.
Right.
What was it like seeing him, especially as musicians, because I've spoken to Timmy Gatlin and a lot of people who've spoken about how creative he is. But when you saw him, I mean, did you realize, wow, this guy can just come up with tracks, or what was it like?
I learned a lot from him. I mean, he was ahead of his time because he was working with computers back then. Like, how we got Logic and all this PreSonus and all this stuff now, the DAWs. He was working on that stuff back then, which I wasn't really interested in it, but he worked with the MPC. So we would sit in the studio, we would actually sit back, and he would invite us, if y'all want to come and chill, man, just come in, and we would see him work. He would just sit up there and formulating the songs, coming up with the chords. And it was just amazing just to see him to create, and him creating that genre of New Jack Swing. My hats always go off to him. I mean, I know him, we see each other, hey, what's up? What's up, Spec, blah, 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 and that. But it's always, I'm always, and I tell him, I said, bro, no matter how much we talk, I'm always a fan. Because you created a style of music, not just a producer, he created a style of music. And that's one thing, like myself and the guys, that's one thing that every producer will want to do, is create their own music that people love and take home to. So
what about Do the Right Thing, that Redhead? Who produced that?
Ooh, that's Teddy. That's Teddy. And Redhead was a hell of a producer too. Now, guys, Redhead could have did a track and you would have thought it was Teddy, and you didn't have that many producers that could do a track that to make you think it was Teddy. You had Bernard Bell could have did one, David Guppy, Redhead, that's David Guppy, and me. And you ain't got too many other producers out there that can do that. And Teddy had that sound back then, so everybody wanted that New Jack.
Yeah. If, as I said, if he had played "Do the Right Thing," now that we found love, we got our own thing. He could, prerogative.
Yeah, he did all that.
He could have done "I Wanna," he could have done "Just Got Paid."
He just got paid.
He didn't even do he didn't do "No Diggity." He didn't do "Tonight's the Night."
The remix, he could have played the Troop remix. He did.
Wow, I didn't know. Okay. "Dog Me Out" remix.
You don't remember the mix he did on Troop? That's My Attitude.
No.
That's one of my favorites. That was that remix on Troop. That's My Attitude. Look it up. That's one of my favorites right there.
I can imagine why it would have been hard for Guy, because he was just busy everywhere and can't.
In the studio every day. Gene had him in the studio every day. And the only time he wasn't in the studio when Guy was on tour. And then when they come back off tour, Teddy probably get a day rest. If he came back home on a Friday, he'd probably get Saturday, Sunday off, and he'd be back in the studio.
Wow. Did he enjoy it, do you think? Being in the studio, just working?
Oh yeah, he enjoyed it. Yeah, he enjoyed it.
Mucho and Teddy was having these programming battles. You know what I'm saying?
Was it getting serious, or was it fun, or was it?
No, it was fun most of the time, but then sometimes it got a little funky. But you know what I'm saying? Just for the competition thing, you know how it is when somebody said, "Oh, they killed y'all last night." You know what I'm saying? Teddy's a real dude. He don't like to lose. You know what I'm saying? He don't like to lose. So
yeah. So
it became a thing where, hey, you know what I'm saying? Then Mucho is like, he like that too. He's like, hey, I'm winning. I got it on my chest. I'm Superman. You know what I'm saying? So it became a thing where, they kind of like, were at like, it was competition, but sometimes it became a little beef or whatever. But
I think with Teddy, when he was, so I didn't like the JT sort of track he did, or I didn't like the, because there are times when he just got, I wouldn't say lazy, but the James Ingram "I'm Real" didn't fit James Ingram or JT Taylor's 8 Day a Week.
Yeah, that's because everybody was coming to Gene like, yo, I need that remix from your producer. Everybody was coming at him, so they weren't turning down no money. Now, even when the gospel group, when the Winans came at him,
no, but that's different.
Yeah, but Gene wasn't turning down no money. He didn't care who came at him. James Ingram. It was whoever wanted the remix, Gene was gonna get that money.
Yeah, but see the Winans, the 3 tracks they did with the Winans, especially It's Time, that was a big hit. It was a big hit, and took probably their biggest track, and then Don't Leave Me and stuff. But so that's very different, because a very different type. He rapped on it very different. It was a big track. And it worked for the gospel. He did it well for them. I don't think he did 8 Days a Week good for JT. JT's a ballad singer, and New Jack didn't fit him. Neither did New Jack fit James Ingram. He could have slowed it down and did a ballad for James Ingram, and not to try to do.
But that ain't what JT wanted. JT wanted that up tempo. JT wanted he wanted to put out a dance track. But that wasn't Teddy and Gene idea. That was the label idea, that they want to put JT on an up tempo.
Oh goodness!
Yeah,
it didn't work.
So, but whatever the label wanted, that's what Gene and Teddy gave.
Yeah,
Teddy could do everything himself. Teddy didn't need me. He didn't need Mucho. He didn't need Spragg. He didn't need Pharrell. He didn't need anyone. He could do it all himself. He only brought us on because the bandwidth grew.
Yeah.
Once the bandwidth grew, it's like you're more in demand, so you got to create a team now.
Which of the tracks did you prefer? The "I'm So Into You" or the "Right Here, Human Nature"?
It was kind of hard at the time. That "I'm So Into You" had that Humpty Hump in it. So
yeah.
the one we did. So I was kind of feeling more of the dance vibe at the time. I actually didn't know the Human Nature vibe was gonna take off.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was feeling the I'm So Into You joint more than I did the Human Nature vibe. And especially once he took Pharrell rap off. Now if he would have left Pharrell rap on there, then I would have probably leaned more toward the Human Nature vibe.
okay. But then he took Pharrell's out, but he put our Kills in.
Not on Human Nature.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so the Pharrell's one was on Human Nature.
Yeah, our Kill is on I'm So Into
You.
Yeah.
But where's how is there a copy of the Pharrell's full rap?
I've been trying to find it for the longest. Whoever bought Teddy
studio
storage, bought his storage back in the day, has those masters.
Okay.
Maybe because I think Teddy didn't send that copy to the label, but they're actually on the reel. So whoever got those reels got the version with Pharrell on it.
Okay. And you said it was actually better having the rap in there.
Yeah, it was hot. The song was hot anyway, but it would have been hotter if you would have left Pharrell on it.
When I first got the opportunity to play my music for Teddy, the first time when my dad drove us to Virginia Beach, that 6-hour drive, and I got a chance to play it and to see him and Big Bub and all the people in the room went crazy, right? And that was such a moment for me. And Teddy told me, man, you can come down here anytime you want. And I would come down and I would be down there. And anytime Teddy's like, yo, you got something you want to play me? Whenever I play it and hear it in because he had the best sound in the world coming from the basement in Jersey. So now I'm hearing it and I was supposed to be heard. And I'm listening, I'm like, yo, I know I'm listening to my own music in the studio. I'm like, oh, this sounds incredible. And then soon as Teddy pressed play or whatever he was working on after me, oh my gosh, I'll be like, I shouldn't have played that. Like, oh my gosh, because he was on such a different level. Sonically, but I would just be like, oh man, I can't ever play my music first with him. Because if he plays his music after me, he's just gonna go like this. And so it would humble me. I would tell my brother, I'd be like, yo, did you hear how it sounded? Like, we got to go back to work. Like, yo, we not there yet. Like, listen to the way his stuff sounds. And I know he had millions of dollars worth of equipment, and I was working with like $500 worth of equipment, right? But it was just like, man, I can make it sound better, and I can make it sound better. So that was my goal. Every time I left, my goal was to come back better. Wow. Every time, go back and be like, okay, now when I play and stuff, then I would see the difference. I would see him like, oh, you've been working. Oh, you've been working. Wow. I'm tooling myself. I'm getting better because I'm listening to a master. Imagine you a basketball player and you're 14 years old and you have access to LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. That's what it was for me.
Yeah.
I had access to a master.
Teddy Riley was the big New Jack Swing producer, and he produced everybody. He had Rex and Effect. He had his own group Guy. He did Heavy D and the Boys. We got our own thing. It all had this kind of rhythm that made you have to dance.
New Jack Swing was someone that could sing with the level of Stevie Wonder with the breakbeat background of a Public Enemy and marry those two. Baby, I can get you in my ride. I like the way you work it. No Diggity. No Diggity is the masterpiece of the New Jack Swing era.
We out. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe and turn on the notification button. But also check out our membership offers where you can actually watch all these videos as soon as they're released, especially without any of those YouTube ads. But thanks again for watching and being part of the Halftime Chat community.